So Tony Smotherman, how's it going these days? You're with Hollow Guitars now.
Yes, we've been together for, been working with them probably about 5 years now. That's going really good, and I've been playing their guitars for a while, man, and I'm very happy with them.
So you must have more endorsements from what I've seen.
Yes, I actually work with quite a few companies. I work with a company called Revolt Amplifiers now, too, and they built me a custom amplifier, a 212 with this crazy head, and it's a monster, man. I mean, you can kind of get everything from rock to funk to fusion to blues on this amp. It's pretty insane.
So that's like mostly a custom type of amp just for you.
Definitely, yes. There's not one out there yet. It's the only one.
Your album, The Light Within, now you got some great guitar going in that. What's the process that you put into writing these songs?
Well, believe it or not, some of the songs on there weren't even written with the guitar in hand. Actually, some of them I just actually, like, because for a while I was working a lot in acoustic open tunings, and I would try to not write with a guitar to see what I could come up with. And later when I'd go back to the instrument, I would have to make changes, of course, and I would come up with some pretty interesting ideas that way. So a few of the songs on there, I basically, came up with the melodies and played with the melodies with just a staff paper and a pencil.
And that's where the originality comes from, huh?
Yes, definitely. Well, the funny thing is that some of the more complex stuff on that album, because it's kind of like a progressive album. There's a lot of different genres on there. A lot of the more technical things took less time to write than the more simpler ones. It's just kind of funny. Like the acoustic stuff took a lot longer to write. But that whole record, we did the whole thing in 2 weeks, the whole thing. Yeah, it was actually done in a recording studio called Vision Sound Studios in Jacksonville, Florida. And I have a 2-album deal with them. And they're my label, my distributor also. And that was, it was 2 weeks. It was very fast to do any record. But we spent like all day, every day. By the time I left that studio, I was so burnt out, it was unbelievable.
Now, Tony, can you tell me a little bit about Guitar World magazine? Because I see on your website you're on some magazines. What's the deal there? You work with them often?
Sure,
Or...
yeah. Actually, they invited me to do some columns for them, and I did, and the column went over pretty good, so they asked me to put together some more material. And the series is actually called Bet You Can't Play This. And it's kind of a funny inside joke, really, the whole series is. I mean, it's not, hey, I'm big and I'm bad, bet you can't play this. It's kind of like, it's supposed to be something so challenging that the readers literally can't play it. And so I ended up doing that. That turned out pretty fun. And I've actually done some for Guitar Player magazine also. But the coolest thing, I think, is when that first came out, the first one, I was on the DVD with like 2 of my favorite guitar players at the time, which was Paul Gilbert and Jimmy Herring. And that was really cool because I had the DVD in hand. I didn't know that, and I put it in to check out, see how it turned out. And it was really cool because 2 of my favorite guitar players I was listening to at the time were on the DVD with me. That was a really nice feeling, yeah. I just joined in on the series, and every month they'll have maybe one guitar player will do it 2 or 3 months in a row, but it's only one example every issue.
Because that's been going on for a little while now, and they got all sorts of guitarists on there. And how many times were you on this, and where did you come up with the material to play the impossible?
Well, I think this is I think it was four that I did there, and next year I'm going to do some more. We actually been talking about doing some other things, but the material actually came from just sitting around and working on things and saying, where would I actually use that musically? And I'm thinking, I can't use it anywhere. I'm so conscious about overplaying and shredding too much. It's like it has to be within the context of what I'm doing or I won't do it. I really feel like when I was younger, I would just play really fast for the sake of doing it, and I had all these techniques down, but it was like when it came down to playing something like blues or something, I couldn't do it because all I would want to do is hit every A minor arpeggio in every position on the neck as fast as I could sweep pick it, but I don't care about that anymore. you work all those years for the technique, and then now you're supposed to use that technique as an icing on the cake to what you're playing, instead of everything being that, you know.
So what's the biggest stages you played in your career?
The biggest stages, I toured with Buddy Miles for a while, who was Jimi Hendrix's drummer, from the band that Jimi Hendrix had called the Band of Gypsies. And he got me onto some really big stages when I played with him. That was a really awesome experience. We toured up the East Coast and got to play some really cool festivals and theaters and stuff like that, and some clubs too, smaller clubs. That was really cool. The more intimate club setting is really cool. And played the NAMM show, So I'm a firm believer that you can play, 50 club dates a year, and you're not going to reach as many people as you would playing one big festival where there's 3,000 or 4,000 people at one time, did a bunch of shows in South America. That was really cramped in a very short period of time, though. It was like I played in 10 cities in 12 days. And actually all that stuff was acoustic, open tuning stuff. It had nothing to do with electric guitar and or anything like that at all. Right now I'm working up my project again to get out there and hit the road. And I don't mind playing clubs. The clubs are so intimate, Like you can connect with people there too,
What do you think the difference of, you're flying to a concert instead of driving in a tour bus, Let's say you're going overseas compared to playing the East Coast, like you said.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. Totally different. I've done it before where I've flown in somewhere and they had a band ready for me that's been rehearsing my music, and we have a few hours and then we have a show that night. Those have actually turned out to be some of the best gigs ever, because they don't know me, I don't know them. We have a few hours to meet and talk and maybe eat lunch and discuss, what I'm looking for musically during the show. And then there's a certain raw energy that comes from that you can't get anywhere else. See, when you play with the same guys over and over again, it becomes very tight, and, you end up start to know what the musicians start to know, even they learn your style, what you're going to do in a certain spot, or if I improvise, they know how long I'm going to improvise for because they played the music so much. But with somebody who doesn't have experience with that and it's new, it becomes something totally different, and those are some of the best times on stage that I've ever had, So it's totally different, with having my own band or playing with a different band that's rehearsed my music. I like the raw energy.
And how do you get to choose these people, or your management chooses them?
Yeah, sometimes some of the people that I've been hooked up with were through mutual friends, or somebody suggested somebody that they knew. If I can try and find the better players in town, to get together, the best drummer I can find, the best bass player I can find, and to be in my project. Like if I was doing something like that, it's not to the point to where they have to be incredible virtuosos to be able to play my music. It's that they have to really be able to groove and be in the pocket. And half the live show is a lot based on improvisation. I stick with a theme and then I'll improvise on that theme, whether it's like an Indian thing, Middle Eastern kind of feeling rock thing, or, a fusion-y thing. As long as the melody's there and whatever, you can kind of rock it out from there.
So, Tony, what you have planned for this summer?
This summer, I've got a lot of stuff going on. Actually waiting on the release of my new DVD with a company called Rock House. And they're a company in New York that's owned by Hal Leonard, who does a lot of guitar books and videos. And I have a DVD coming out with them, 2 of them coming out at one time with them. And during the summer, I plan on promoting the DVDs and getting out there to some of the stores. It's going to be in pretty much every Guitar Center store across the U.S. So I'm going to get out there and promote it in person, and maybe do some playing, and for the release of that, and try and get as many of those things sold. It's what I do for a living. We're really fortunate to be in this business because it's really hard out there. And so when people are buying CDs and DVDs and all this stuff, it's really an amazing thing, man, for us not to, be out there in the regular world, because I don't know if I would survive with a regular job. I've been playing guitar for 15 years now, and it's all I know. I mean, it's like I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else, but there's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it too,
Do you find now, with the internet, it's a little bit, it's getting easier to help promote your stuff?
Oh, there's no doubt, for sure. There's so many outlets, it's just ridiculous. You can't begin to explore them all, There's so much out there that, if you're a smart artist and you really think out of the box, you can do anything you want. You really can do anything that you want to do. It's just a matter of getting there, being in the right market, being around the right people, and making your fan base bigger with what you do. For the longest time, I had a really hard problem playing instrumental music because I thought that when I was younger that everybody liked guitar, and they don't. Guitar is the most popular instrument in the world, easily, hands down. But the problem is that not everybody understands an instrumental guitarist show, a guitar player who's influenced by John Petrucci and Buckethead and Alman Holdsworth or Steve Morse or Steve Vai. See, a lot of people that are non-musicians have never heard of Steve Vai. They don't know who that is. And when you go and play instrumental, you have to be very careful of how you play. And I've learned that over the years, you can keep anybody in an instrumental show and get them interested and even make them a fan, but you have to be careful of how you present the music to them. If I come out on stage and I come out and I start ripping and going crazy, it goes over everybody's head. If I do that, they're done in 5 minutes. There's nothing more I can do. But if you take your time and the musical set is created in a certain way, there's continuity, you take them on a little roller coaster, then people are interested, then you can do whatever you want after that. But you have to be very careful not to come out and try to rip their heads off, So I've had to learn how to tailor my show because non-musicians come to the shows too, and I have to make their first experience, if it is instrumental guitar, a very good one. So I'm very conscious about that.
In your case, you have to take care of the musicians and the non-musicians.
Yes, exactly. Because I still want them to buy a CD when they leave and listen to my music. And if I kill them in 5 minutes, they're gone. They're going to leave.
Right.
I want to hear that.
You do a lot of seminars, let's say, because you're going to have some DVD products to sell. Do you find seminars is a way to go and teach the young kids?
I really enjoy doing guitar clinics and seminars and those kind of things because, guitar players can ask questions, and most of the time they're really good questions. I mean, you always get the one guy in there that starts asking questions that are just totally ridiculous, and you don't even know what he's doing there. But, but there are some really cool things that happen there, and I love doing that. I've got a handout when I do the clinics. I change it from time to time, but I named it after one of the videos I did for a company called Chops from Hell, an instructional video, and it's called Licks of the Absurd. And it's just like 6 pages of nothing but crazy 8-finger tapping, unorthodox sweeping techniques or licks, crazy video game sounds, in creating the sound of Indian sitars and Japanese koto on your guitar without effects pedals. How to create the sound of a harmonizer without effects pedals, and really organic guitar stuff, and people really tend to get into that, because a lot of people don't have money to buy, $5,000 worth of equipment to make some crazy sound out of their instrument,
Let's say for effects, do you have any specific effects you like?
I'm a minimalist. I don't use a lot of gear. I used the Volt amplifier. They sent me the Barbarian 100, and which they actually want to release. They're talking about releasing it this summer as a signature head, and it's incredible. It's just unbelievable hand-to-hand, point-to-point wired amplifier. And I'm using that, and I used a Steve Vai wah pedal, and I have a deal with Coffin Case, and I use their Blood Drive Overdrive. It's this really crazy-looking pedal that looks like a coffin, but it's actually kind of built on the 70s circuitry of the old tube pedals. So it's got a really cool, like, old school Boss OD1 type sound. I mean, by looking at it, you would think it's almost like a metal zone, but it's nothing like that. And I use a delay pedal, and that's it. I like a touch of delay and a little bit of reverb, and I try to make the rest come out of my hands, as much as I can.
Now, speaking about Boss pedals, like, did you play much with, the Boss pedals from the old days compared to what you buy now? Let's say the made in Taiwan Boss pedals.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar. I'm not really, really familiar with that. I have a really old OD1 Boss overdrive pedal, and I mean, a lot of people give me pedals, and they're like, "Hey, man, check this out, and you can hang on to it, you can keep it." And so I've got a collection of pedals that I don't really use. So I'm not too familiar with like the old school stuff compared to the new school stuff. But honestly, a lot of pedals that I've tried out just kind of like they sound generic. They sound like the sound of the wood and the strings on the guitar are completely lost. It's like it's so muddy that I don't hear a guitar anymore.
Because I notice, and for the distortion, the orange famous Boss pedal, let's say, and the overdrive there you're talking about, the yellow one, there is a difference with the classic one that you'd buy in the mid '80s, let's say, and then the one you buy today, and there is a difference, circuitry,
Sure.
I guess.
Yeah. Now between those two, I do know. I'm aware of that for sure. I played through both of those, and yeah, the difference is definitely there's a difference. Yeah, I mean, things change, company owners change, tastes change within companies, and new products come out. They start sounding a lot different than people. That's why people seek out vintage gear now. They don't make like the super reverb like they used to. Maybe they do now. I'm not too familiar with that, but if you get an old super reverb, Fender super reverb, that was like the sound back then, and if they recreate it now, they've gotten so good that they can recreate that almost to a T. But, how old is the speaker in the new one? It's brand new. Maybe it's not worn in like the old speaker. And little things like that all really make a huge difference,
Now, microphones, let's say you're playing a gig, is there any, spectacular microphone you want mic'd? Or is it just, let's put anything on it?
We always carry that Shure mic. I really like that SM57 microphone they make.
Right.
That's a really good one. And the guy who puts my stuff on stage and gets it all together for me, we've got a bag of those. So he's always using those mics, the Shure SM57 microphone. I found those to be the best for guitar. I don't know. I'm not aware of too many other guitar mics out there for live sound, but those have always just kind of captured what I wanted.
Now, for a sound check, let's say that you do, is it really hard to get the sound going, or is it really minimal, for a sound check?
Minimal. It's minimal. It's like being a solo artist and doing all this stuff and making sure this is right and that's right, and you got to do an interview or got to work on this and got to meet somebody. Sometimes you forget that it's very important to work on what you got to do and play, because there's so much business stuff going on. So I'm a big fan of, keeping things minimal. Let's get on stage. Let's do a great sound check. And, because really within all the business stuff, sometimes you completely forget about the actual important part of it, and that's playing music. I find a lot of people do that. They forget. It's like, oh, wow, I play an instrument. I forgot. They're so intertwined in the business thing and all the other stuff that they forget that the whole purpose here is to play.
There's more business than we think in music, though.
There is. There definitely is. There definitely is. Yeah, and, so many artists are so concerned about, quote-unquote, being out there that they spend so much time on that their craft suffers for it. And I understand that because you have to do the business part, too, but it's really nice when you do have somebody that you can trust that can handle some things for you, take the load off,
So, Tony, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, man. And your website, tonysmotherman.com, is it?
Yes.
Great site.
Just like it sounds. Smotherman. Thanks, and take care.